In 1776, Abigail Adams writes to her husband John, who was attending the Continental Congress in Philadelphia, asking that he and the other men who were at work on the Declaration of Independence remember the ladies. John responds with humor. The Declaration specifically states that all men are created equal. Unit 2, Seneca Falls Convention. Bridge to the Ballot by Jordan Magyar and Tre'Dessa Smalls.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Women had many responsibilities in the household, such as keeping the household clean, serving dinner, watching their children's health to make sure they don't get sick, and especially their morals for their children. Why women want to vote? Women are citizens and wish to do their civic duty. Different types of jobs require different types of things. Working women, housekeepers, mothers, teachers, businesswomen, tax-paying women. The Revolution. It was written by two of the leaders of the women's suffrage movement, Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton. Some states in the West had women's suffrage, but not all did.
In 1869, two women's suffrage groups emerged. The first organization was the NWSA, which was the National Women's Suffrage Association. The second was the AWSA, which is the American Women's Suffrage Association. These two groups were all for the same cause, but they went about it in different ways. The NWSA was more Christian-based religion foundation that really wanted women's suffrage, and the AWSA just wanted suffrage for all women because they realized that women deserve the same rights as men. NWSA was founded by Stanton, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and Susan B. Anthony, whereas the AWSA was founded by Lucy Stone and her husband, Henry Blackwell. In 1872, Susan B. Anthony got arrested for illegally voting in a presidential election. Susan B. Anthony was the woman who really wanted women to have the right to vote. So she took all the measures that she was going to make sure that women did get this right of suffrage. So Susan went and voted in a presidential election, and her outcome was that she got arrested for doing something that she thought was her right. Susan B. Anthony felt as if she was a woman and she had responsibilities, so she also had the right to vote. So that's exactly what she did, knowing that only men had the right to vote at the time. But Susan B. Anthony had the courage to go and vote.
In 1873, Susan B. Anthony had a trial for the charge of illegal voting. In 1875, the Supreme Court made a ruling that women are not legally entitled to vote.
The National Women's Suffrage Association and the American Women's Suffrage Association merged to create one group in 1890. The group that they created was the National American Women's Suffrage Association. Elizabeth Cady Stanton was the president of this group. And then 2 years later, in 1892, Susan B. Anthony became the president of the NAWSA, the National American Women's Suffrage Association.
In 1900, Susan B. Anthony retired as president from the National American Women's Suffrage Association. In that same year, Carrie Chapman Cass supplanted Anthony.
In 1902, Elizabeth Cady Stanton sadly dies. And then right after that, in 1906, Susan B. Anthony died. It was a really sad situation because both of these women were the forefront for women's suffrage. The movement had become such a great movement when they were still living, so afterwards it still continued on even when they passed. They just laid the foundation for an even stronger movement to gather more people to be in this fight with the women for women's suffrage.
As today's stereotype, you would think men wouldn't be a part of the women's suffrage. But ironically, the year 1910, the Men's League for Women's Suffrage had over 20,000 members.
In 1916, the National Women's Party had emerged. Alice Paul and Lucy Barnes were the two ladies who were in charge of this party and the foundation of it. This is a picture of Lucy Stone sitting in jail. Lucy Stone is a part of the National Women's Party. She was sitting in jail for fighting for women's suffrage.
In 1920, the 19th Amendment was passed. The 19th Amendment gave the women right to vote.